in our timer. All right, all right. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. This is Travis, and I have Mr. Daniel Quintero with me here tonight. And this is going to be our very first episode of Move Motivation, Opportunity, Validation, and Education. And Dan is going to tell us a little bit about how this kind of got started. This has been going on for about a year as a local thing, and I've been kind of trying to get it on the internet here. So fill us in, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Travis. So, MOVE was started about a year ago and stands for Motivation, Opportunity, Validation, and Education. So, I was taught by a mentor many years ago. He was teaching a class, and one of the things he said that always stuck with me that I found kind of profound was if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you always got. And what he meant by that is you can't stay stuck in the same place all the time. It's okay to be consistent and persistent and use the systems you've always had before, but at some point you've got to move on. I'll give you an example. In the late 90s, I started in real estate in 95, but in the late 90s, we were introduced to the internet, being able to access the MLS and all the listings that were on the market through the MLS. Used to be a book that we had, and we had to graduate to learning how to use the MLS through the internet, and a lot of us were kind of resistant to do that. How to move around in it, where to go, where to send it, how to operate in it, and it was tough sledding in the beginning because a lot of us just didn't want to move forward. So, and in today's world, we're working with AI, artificial intelligence, and even at my age, at 62 years old, I'm a little resistant because it's new, and I'm a little resistant to move forward, knowing that over the next few years, it's already happened. Over the next few years, it's going to become really, really prevalent in our initial contact with people. For a lot of the agents in the business right now, a lot of them are using it pretty successfully. But if you don't move forward, you're going to fall behind the agents that are doing it on a consistent basis. That's just the fact of life. And in 5 years and 10 years, there'll be other forms of technology. If you're not moving forward and utilizing it, you're going to fall behind. So that's the genius behind this podcast. What we're always going to be about for you on a personal level and on a professional level is trying to help you to move forward and not be stuck in the same thing you did years past. Because if you are, you're being left behind. So when we talk about motivation, we're going to try and bring you stories, our personal stories that we hear about from other people that can be motivational and uplifting you and get you through the day, of the week, of the month. The opportunities that'll be arising on this podcast will be people that's in our circle that have opportunities. It might be an employment opportunity for you. It might be opportunities for new systems that you can utilize and or just new tools in general. Validation. I like the validation one because it's very different. When you talk about a networking group, validation is not normally that big a part of it. Validation is about loving on people personally and professionally. What I mean by that is supporting what they're doing, promoting what they're doing, encouraging what they're doing, helping them move forward, helping them get through the tough times, and doing everything we can to validate them and support them. The last one's education. Travis and I are really big about education. We're always online and sharing stuff with each other about what's going on in the world education wise and what we can teach ourselves, each other, and other people that are in our circle about what's going on in real estate and also what's going on in general. It could be something to do with your health, something to do with getting in shape, something to do with your family, or it could be about any kind of business, real estate, but any other businesses that are out there. So that's the genius behind MOVE, and we're glad you're here.
Yeah, I absolutely. When I first heard about this idea, I told Dan, I was like, we got to take this to the world. We got to blow it up. We got to make it bigger than just having a local meeting. And it starts with real estate agents and then kind of people that are associated with the real estate industry. But some of the things, what I think is kind of crazy and why I've been pressuring Dan to do this is because I never expected in a million years that getting into an industry like real estate would be so life changing. Now, when I say that to people, they're like, yeah, sure, Travis, we don't believe you. But I honestly believe that through the course of the people that I've ran into, that God's put into my life and being in this business, have helped me be able to get to what we'll call it another level, right? So I know you were in real estate for 30 years. I've been in IT for about 20-ish, 25 years. And so I, kind of got into real estate by accident, right? And so um, I didn't expect this course of events to take place, but I think it's helpful for other people to see what it's like to have both a coach and for me, you're really a mentor for me, um, because you've been where I want to go, and you've been incredibly helpful for me in kind of helping develop parts of me. I mean, it's outside of the real estate transaction, right? you know, so coaching for me, right? A couple things are on mindset, right? My my engineering mindset when I got into the real estate business was a challenge for me. I was used to being the guy that was right, and I was used to being the guy that knew everything, and I came into a business as a rookie, right? So it was challenging for me in that industry, and Dan was very helpful for me in kind of coaching me along in that process.
Yeah. So the very first time we met, it was in a classroom at the old brokerage we used to work at, and I had already been in one class with your wife Margot a few weeks before that, maybe a month before that, and then you showed up in this class. And a few days before that, I saw you do a post on Facebook because you're already a realtor, and so you had mentioned something about a property in your neighborhood another agent had listed, and you didn't agree with how they were marketing the property, and you were letting it be known to the world that that poor owner of that house shouldn't be working with that realtor. That realtor doesn't know what they're doing, and basically just trying to you know gain business by tearing somebody else down. And I physically, when we were on break that day, I physically, when you came up and introduced yourself to me, I shook her hand and I took my finger and I tapped it on your chest and I said, Travis, what you have on Facebook, what you put on Facebook about the other agent, about the house in your neighborhood, we don't do that here. You don't ever, ever take the opportunity to talk badly about another agency or another agent in a public setting. Now, if you want to talk to me and bounce something off me about what someone else did, or have a question, or have something you need help with, maybe there's some kind of conflict with another agent, that's fine. But we don't take them on publicly. And so that was the beginning of that relationship. Now, there's been times since then, as you thinking like an engineer and realizing you got this whole other skill set you're bringing into the real estate world and kind of getting the two mixed up where you're not the expert yet. You don't know enough about what's going on in the real estate industry to be telling everybody else what to do. And so there's been times, and just being flat out honest, and that's what developed this relationship. There's times I'm like, Travis, can't do that. Travis, you can't do that. Travis, you can't do that. We'll said it more than once. So it's been a point of evolution over time. And if I'm to be perfectly frank and saying it on this podcast, and you know this because I told you directly, because you're not going to be surprised about what I'm about to say. I've been approached by agents in this business, a couple of them in person, a couple of them by text, a couple of them on the phone. What is your relationship with Travis? Why do you have this relationship with Travis? And I just kind of laugh when they ask such a question. And that's okay. It's their opinion. They're questioning it because obviously Travis came into this business, very strong willed and used to getting things done and just not spending enough time yet to develop the relationship with the people in the business to have the opinions that he was sharing that it was rubbing people the wrong way. And I said, Travis has got a good heart. He doesn't mean bad. Just give him time to develop. So that's basically what's happened. I've actually given you time over these 2 years to develop this where I see someone that's trying very hard because you go through a lot of training, you got a lot of mentors, you actually do a lot of traveling, and you put yourself in positions where you're taking in a lot of information. And there has been an evolution. That's why I'm still here working with you. I know where you're going to very, very big places. I know you can do anything you want to do. I know you're fearless and you'll talk to anybody about anything, and you have a heart that will want to help anybody through any situation. So that's what I know about you, and that's why we're working together today. And I look forward to doing this with you.
Well, I appreciate that. When I got into doing this, I only got into it because I had a bad experience, right? So I've talked about this a little bit when Margot and I were going to buy our first house. We literally did not know what we were doing. And so we went through the process and we got our first house, and I kind of was a little bit bummed about it. I thought, hey, I think we could do this better. So we went through the process, and I wasn't planning on getting a real estate license. Margot, that was her dream and her thing, and she was good at it. She was the realtor, right? And I got into it because I kind of wanted to compete with her a little bit, to be honest with you. I thought maybe I could outsell her a little bit. And it turns out that didn't work out well for me because it turns out I try to talk people out of buying houses. A lot of times I tell people, look, it's going to sound like I'm trying to talk you out of this house, but I want to show you what's wrong with it because I want you to have the experience that I wish I would have had. And what's interesting, actually, this actually just hit me as I was saying this out of my mouth, is when I got into real estate, people ask, they're like, why do you always want to help everybody? Because I think you do this and I do this. I'll help anybody. I don't care what brokerage they're at. It doesn't matter. Even if they don't like me, it doesn't factor. But it's like I'm trying to help other people because I'm trying to be the help that I wish I would have had. Maybe I, about a year ago, I went to a psychotherapist, and he's like, "You have childhood trauma, right?" Well, I would never have went to that had it not been for real estate, and I just think it's profound that we'll talk a little bit more about this through this process of our evolution, but had I not got into real estate, I would have never became what I would consider today as almost an addict of personal growth and development. Um, I try to take it all in. I just listening to John Maxwell before you and I got on here, and he was talking about mindset, right? And who we surround ourselves with, and having people that are in the right mindset. And so you've been able to help me a lot with that mindset portion of this business because I mean, what we do is hard, right?
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I invited you to church, and you were a little resistant to go at first, but I've gone to church in my 62 years, probably about half my life. There's a portion of my life where I didn't go at all. There's other portions of my life I went once or twice every week, and but what I've always known about it and why I encourage you to do it, realizing as you're growing in this business and growing personally in your family, that it would be a step for you. That I thought it would be a step for you. So just come and take a look, see what's going on here. I think it can really help you, and you did, and you guys just absolutely love that place.
I, this is actually a great point to make. If you go to church and you're thinking, should I invite this person? And it's maybe the person that's maybe a little rough around the edges, invite that person because that is the person that needs to go to church probably more than the person that right. So I was probably not the person that would be like, oh yeah, Travis is gonna definitely not only go, but he's gonna go all in on that whole thing. But I mean, this is crazy actually. I'm reading my Bible. I don't even know if I told you this. I bought a Bible and I'm reading it, like opening the pages and reading it. And I did not, that was not on my Monopoly life bingo card at all in any portion of my life. But what I find so crazy about it is that as I continue to read that book, I'm like, man, you know, I'm like, I thought my life was messed up. And then I was like, I'm in Genesis right now. And it is like, what is going on here? I actually gives me a lot of comfort that things are okay for me.
What's amazing about the Bible? It's filled with stories just like us. It's full of very flawed people that did amazing things. That's what's amazing about the Bible. And I refer to the book of Job often. If you're suffering, read the book of Job. If you're suffering, read the book of Job. And what Job went through, I mean, Job lost it all. I mean, he lost his health, he lost his family, he lost his wealth. And he still, at the end, as he was being tempted to walk away from his faith and questioning his faith, he didn't. But he was tempted, like anybody would, after losing everything. And so occasionally I remind myself I might need to read the book of Job when I'm feeling sorry for myself because God doesn't guarantee that we're not going to suffer. That was all put aside in the Garden of Eden. When that happened, what happened in the Garden of Eden, it's interesting that the two children that were born from Adam and Eve one of them wound up committing murder, killing the other one, and that's a story that reads all the way through to the current day and some of the conflicts we have today. If you actually read the entire Bible, would understand that. that the first two people, the descendants of Adam and Eve, one killed the other. And so all these terrible things that happen in our lives today, it all goes back to the beginning. This is what's so amazing about reading the Bible, and whether you ever do or not. But what I found fascinating about it, it becomes central in your life, understanding where you're at, understanding where you're at. We're all flawed, we all fall short, we're all forgiving, we're all shown grace. Whether you believe it or not, those are all true.
Well, and I probably was the person that was the most. I was like, there's no hope for me. Definitely, I'm beyond hope, right? But that's the thing is that's crazy about it. And I like the one of the things I like about the point is they say we're the church for the people that aren't there yet, right? And so a lot of people, I think they have this idea of I have to be perfect, and and it's an aspiration, right? So I want to be excellent, so I pursue excellence. And as I mean, as I've been going through this industry, I mean, it's not necessarily known for always the highest standards of things. I think you and I have gravitated together because we do believe in pushing to a higher standard and for achieving a higher standard with everything that we do. So you hold me accountable in a way that there's probably a lot of people that don't want to be held accountable in that particular way. Um, and I think I've told you this is almost like the Dick Cheney, George W. Bush type of relationship that we have is, I mean, I'm not the smartest person in the room, so I defer to, the wisdom, right?
That's an interesting analogy. It's funny when you said that to me the other day. But yeah, we have so many stories that we're going to share over time. We hope these stories are going to be motivational to you guys, and see why the Travis and I will continue to work together. We're flawed. We don't always agree. Travis is obviously willing to take my criticism when I give it to him. I've been doing this a lot longer than he has. I'm actually older than he is. But it goes both ways. There's definitely times when he shares stuff with me. I'm like, thanks for reminding me of that. So it works both ways, and we also offer the same thing to anybody as part of our podcast. When you send in questions and you talk to us outside of the podcast, we're here for. Well, and Travis knows it. He knows I'm here for him 24/7. I've been here for him 24/7. Most of it's been related around business, but some of it's been very personal. So, we all have our struggles and our frustrations, and it's good when you can find a circle of people that'll validate you and love on you and work with you and not judge you. That's the thing too. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why you can judge people. I was taught this at a young age, and I believe this, and I try to practice as often as possible. We make judgments about who we're to be around and associate ourselves with, but we don't pass judgment against those people. It's not our job to pass judgment. It's our job to decide what circle we want to have and who we trust inside that circle. And if you don't keep some people inside the circle, it's because you've made that choice, but you're not passing judgment on those people. And there's a big difference. I hear people say stuff about people all the time where they're passing judgment and they're looking down upon somebody. I don't look down upon anything that Travis has ever done, and he knows that. And he's not the only one, though. There's people in my circle that have been friends with me my entire life or for the last few years, and they always know they can come back to me. They always know my door is open to them, and that's what we're going to build here. That's what we're building. That's what we built for last year, and that's what we're going to continue to build. Travis, you shared something last week with me that I found very profound. I'd like for you to share, and the difference between being a warrior and a statesman.
Yeah, so as I've been in this business, right? I found out that, being the warrior, as much as I love that identity and as much as I carry that identity along with me, it doesn't always suit what I want to do. And it's only really the second level in the evolution of a person, right? So, the analogy that is given is you need to move from being a warrior to being a statesman, and so for me this is the next level that I want to get to, and so I need to stop um, picking fights, picking battles, and constantly always going to war with everybody, because over the course of the time over the course of the time, we're going to transition to becoming the statesman. And, you know, I part of it, another thing I thought about when you're talking about you and I is we don't always agree about everything. We have differing opinions. We respect each other's, I think, differing opinions. And, I'm learning more that it's okay that we have different opinions, right? I think so
Oh, well, we're
when
not robots. We're not machines. Yeah.
yeah, when we disagree, some of the
Right.
color of our disagreement shows, like what's the motivation behind I'm always fighting for my customer. So I think I've told you this before, but I have this thing is like I fight for my customer. So now I just have to figure out how I can tamper that down a little bit, right?
Well, you have an oath to the state of Indiana when you hold up your right hand that says you have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of your customer and take care of them. You're the expert in the transaction. You have an obligation. You have a legal obligation to do what you do. The difference is you just got to understand where the lines are drawn. I mean, I have had plenty of disagreements with other people in this business, and sometimes it was a shouting match. Not that I was proud of it or happy about it or enjoyed it, but there were times either I raised my voice or they raised their voice and realized even while it was happening, while I didn't want it to happen, you get very affirmative about your conviction, and this is how it's going to happen, and you're defending your client. And so the downside to that is being an effective negotiator is that you can still do the same thing without offending the other side or cutting the other side down or being short with the other side or talking over the other side. There's a way to do that as a statesman. When you have someone leading a country or leading a business or leading an organization or leading a podcast, when we have these opportunities where we're going to be helping people elevate their life, have their life move forward from where they were before, both personally and professionally, we're going to have to show it as statesmen and not be in arguments with them. In other words, we're going to have to be the example, not always by our words, but by our actions. And what are we doing in the community that they can see us doing it when we post things on Facebook or on social media? This is what we're doing, or this is what we're a part of. And a lot of times there doesn't have to be a lot of words, but it's as being a statesman when they know you're putting in compromising, difficult situations, and you can still elevate everybody in the room to come along with you on the ride. You don't have to tear people down along the way, and that's what we're always going to be. That's what I've always tried to be about. I'm human. I've certainly failed. There's certainly times when I've gotten upset when I didn't need to, but sometimes we just have days where we're just not on as well. But you should wake up every day ready to be a statesman, ready to elevate, ready to love. It's a lot of unconditional love involved. I did a TED talk last year at this time talking about unconditional love for 18 minutes. And it was hard to do because it got very personal. But, I spend so much of my life now, every day of my life, sharing so much unconditional love for the people around me, knowing at times it's just, it's hard. It's a very servient act where you're putting their needs first, and you have to do that. We're called to do that, and it's good food for the soul when you're doing for others. Christmas time, when Christmas time comes, not it's not about the gifts that you're getting. It's about the gifts you're given, and most of the time, it's just your time. And that's just how we try to treat everyone in every situation every day. Here's my time. This is what I'm doing for you. This is what I'm doing. What I can do.
Well, and I appreciate all the time that you've poured into me because you definitely didn't have to, right? And so that
No,
is the first thing I didn't deserve it, but I was grateful that Dan found me. I tell people all the time that I feel like it's divine intervention, and they don't necessarily understand when I say that it's like God, you ask for things and God brings you people. And you don't always recognize the people when they come to you the way that, it's like Dan holds me accountable. Being held accountable is not always easy to do, and I think that for me, it helps me elevate and level up and do better, right? And if you have somebody, in my case, Dan is a massive producer who's been able to sell hundreds of houses. What's your production? 500 some houses
it's over a
maybe?
thousand. A
Over
lot
a
of my a
thousand.
lot of my did with other agents like you have deals that I've shared with other agents. We co-listed together. We put deals together, offered to purchase together. So the number is over 1,000. I spent a lot of years in real estate also drawing houses. So there was a time in real estate where I was drawing more houses than houses I was selling. So the number could be considerably bigger, but probably almost a third of real estate at the time I've been in real estate. I was also drawing houses. So that aside, but yeah, the production is very big and over a period of time. And a lot of, again, last 20 years, I've helped a lot of agents in this business and I enjoy doing it. I mean, I
Well,
have a calling to do that. When I was a sophomore in high school, talking to my guidance counselor of the careers I was considering, the one I was most excited about was being a high school football coach and a teacher. And he discouraged me from doing it because the income was very limited. And I was just kind of like, I didn't really care about that, but he just kind of talked me out of it. So when I graduated from high school, I went in a different direction. But I've always deep inside of me, I've always had this natural desire to give my gifts back to people to help them make them better, whatever that looked like.
I'm glad that you're sharing it with the internet because this is the thing that I've been wanting Dan to do since I met him is to open up some of what I see, his servant heart, to the world. And so I finally, it's been a little while, we've been able to finally what I call reconverge back together and kind of form up in what I would consider a team now where we're working together and we're collaborating. Now, he's got thousands of transactions and decades of experience in the real estate business, and I have millions of dollars and 20 years in the IT business. Now, I think that the synergy between the two, I think helps both of us, right? Because, when we talk to each other, you bring things to the table, I bring things to the table that I think are helpful for each of us. And I think that the collaboration between the two of us, I think I shared with you, I don't know, very early on, is the people at the top collaborate. And so that's one of the most beautiful things about this synergy too is that over the course of time we've been able to help each other out, and it's not necessarily financially motivated. We all want to do business, right? But we want to help other people. The most important thing about why this works, I think, and why you continue with me and I continue with you is because we have the desire to help other people. And so that's what this is. This is an attempt to open this up. If you have a business that you're interested, you know, facts tell, stories sell. I say this a lot. You'll hear me say this on this program a lot. We want to hear your story, right? We want to hear who you are, and then people will buy from you. It's easy. That's the easy part. It's, we want to know the person, right? And so that's why I think this is great.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I mean, if whatever else you want to share, we could go on for hours. So we got plenty of material. It's going to last for weeks. It's going to happen once a week. So we got plenty of other podcasts coming up. Another one coming up a week from this Thursday. And we want questions. Ask questions on the link, and ask questions on it with us on Facebook that you want us to address in the next podcast. We're looking for questions. We're looking for more people to join us and for this to grow and to help more and more people.
Yeah, I've got some great people that have reached out already to me. So if you're interested in getting on here, we have opportunities. And I have people that are in the finance industry, I have people that are in the insurance industry. And they, like I said, it's about stories. They have some really good stories. I have somebody that if we think we've had a hard life, they lived in a prison camp in Vietnam. So I think he's going to get on here with us. So I cannot wait to hear how bad my life is compared to him living. I think he said he lived in a cardboard box at one point. So, exciting things going on here. Thank you guys all for joining us and spending your time with us. We're going to wrap it up. You guys have a great day.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Dan.